got a question for the streets. Do you operate from a place of love or do you operate from a place of transaction? In your relationships and your friendships, are you doing what you do out of love and care and authenticity, genuity and sincerity, or is it this invisible transaction? And usually this is why there are so many relationships that are misunderstood, because when you're operating in a place of transaction, a lot of times you don't realize it. But I'm gonna give you a clue on how do you know when someone is operating from a place of transaction versus sincerity and love. Because when you do something out of love, you just do it because you want to. It's genuine. You wanted to do that. Regardless of what that person did, you felt the need to do that. Hey, you don't feel messed up about sending that text. It was in your heart to send it regardless. You don't feel messed up about giving that money. It was in your heart. But a transactional person, as soon as, and you usually find out when there's some type of disagreement or misunderstanding, or you say the word no. Oh, people show their true colors when the word is no, or something has changed. They can't accept it, right? So a transactional person, this is what they do. They start listing everything that they have done. They have no account to what you did. They have no account to what you brought to the relationship. It's the victim of, but I did this for you, and I did that for you, and I paid that, and I did that. It's a guilt trip. And what it's also is a you owe me. And you blindsided like, I didn't know that there was a debt to be paid. Beware of these people. And if that's you, if that's what you do, then again, take some inventory and say, hey, why am I transactional? Why do I do things and there's an invisible debt behind them? A lot of times it's the way we grew up. Everything usually traces back to how we grew up. A lot of times our parents didn't know that they were teaching us to love in a transactional way. But if you had parents that, hey, you got to do this and this and this to receive this, it can teach you that love is a transaction. Love is a feeling. Now, don't get it twisted. Love is an action. You can't just say, I love you, and then there's nothing else. But I'm talking about this invisible checks and balance sheet that you don't know where it came from. And that person feels like you owe them based on what you did. And there comes the list. And it is very, very hurtful when you are operating from a place of love and you realize that the person was operating from a place of transaction. And I'm not saying that a person who is operating from a place of transaction does not care for you and does not love you. I'm just saying that they will use that to make sure that they have you to do whatever they want, because what they are saying is, you owe me. It's like in the workplace, quid pro quo. You owe me that. And really, you don't owe anybody anything. Respect, sure. But just because you did this or this favor, that doesn't mean that I owe you anything. Hopefully you do that because you wanted to. And we have so many now. Also, I'm not saying that your relationships and friendships should not be reciprocal. They should be reciprocal. There should be both people adding and being intentional about bringing something. But a transactional person, for whatever reason, they never look at what you bring. They only see what they bring because they take that list out and it's like, hey, what do you owe me? And when there is any kind of inconvenience, they have no problem throwing it up in your face, and it will crush you because you're like, man, I thought you did that out of love. I didn't know that you did that out of me having some secret invisible debt. And I think that this is the problem when people fall out with God, because God doesn't do something that they want them to do. God will tell you no. God will tell you no. God will allow things to get rocky. God will allow those storms. But the minute things don't go well, the minute things don't go right, you say, hey, God, I go to church on Sabbath or Sunday. I've been paying my tithes and offerings. I've been doing this. Hey, I've been abstinent. I quit drinking. And you haven't done this, so I'm mad. And you don't realize that you are operating in your relationship with God as a transaction. It's not a, you know what, God, I trust in you and I have faith that you're going to bring me out of this and give me the strength to go through it. And I'm going to stay in covenant with you. No. So when people say, hey, I used to believe in God, but then this happened and then, I quit. They didn't have a real relationship with God. They had a transaction. It's as if you are telling God, hey, I'm going to do this and this and this, and you're going to do this. And God is not one for transactions. In Matthew 7:21-23, we see where Jesus is describing, and he says, many are going to say, oh, but I expelled demons. Oh, but I did these works in your name. And what did Jesus say? Jesus said, I'm going to say, get away from me. I never knew you, because that wasn't relationship. There was no real relationship with you in Christ. And that's the same thing. I find that the way people, or the way that we treat God, it overflows into how we treat people, right? So What happens is it's the same thing when you have a relationship with someone, they treat you the same way. Oh, well, you no good to me anymore because you didn't do A, B, and C. And you thought the whole time it was a relationship. You thought it was genuine. And it is quite heartbreaking when you find that out. So, and if that's you, again, maybe that's something that you have learned and you are going to have to unlearn to have a successful relationship. Because everybody is not going to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it. And that's your children, that's your spouse, that's your homegirl. They not, hey, we see things differently sometimes. Again, that doesn't mean that you just let people juice you and milk you and take advantage of you. Absolutely not. Don't do that. But don't think that because you did something in this way, a person owes you something in that same way. And many relationships and friendships end because of that. But if that is you, if the first thing you do is start listing everything you did for that person, you're probably the transactional one. And you're probably the one that needs to ask yourself, why can't I operate from a place of sincerity? Because if you really wanted to do that, have you ever noticed when it was really something you want to do, you ain't really messed up about it? Hey, I did that. I paid that. I picked him up. I fed him. I did that. But I loved him. That's what I want to. It didn't work out like that, but I don't take it back. But a transactional person, oh, they don't like that. They don't like that at all because it was never done with a pure heart. It was never done with pure intent. So just some food for thought. In your transactional relationships, are your relationships transactional? Is your relationship with God transactional?